Right.
Hello. I'm so excited. My name is Melissa Moffat, if you do not know me, and I'm going to be walking you through what I'm now calling the relationship and dating cheat sheet. So, this is something that I made for myself. And I'll tell you just a tiny bit about my story. And then I'm going to walk through and explain some of the parts of the cheat sheet. I wanted to have a video for you and teach a little bit versus you just having like the sheet to look at. I wanted to explain. But when I was in the process of clearing up I had ridiculous patterns that were very heavy of being in abusive relationships, dating men who did not like me, dating men who cheated on me. I've actually been cheated on by four people I've dated. One of the times he was cheating on his partner with me. I didn't know it. And I was 20 at the time, but it happened up until recently. um, that I kept getting cheated on. I was even in a relationship with someone who was like a clinical narcissist, psychopath who lied constantly about like very core parts of his identity, ended up having a psychotic break because he was also um, bipolar, because of the narcissism, those two things are a pretty bad cocktail. Um, and became violent with me and was arrested for domestic violence. And yeah, so all of that to say is relationships were a very heavy and complicated and confusing part of my life. And about a little over a year ago, so in May of 2024, at the time of me recording this, it is August of 20, no, 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 this was May 2025. It is now August of 2026. I have an incredible teacher. His name is Tulku Gatso Rinpoche. He is a Tibetan Buddhist teacher. He's incredible. He is the most aware, um, powerful human I know. And yeah, and he's my teacher, and I trust him fully. He's been my teacher for 7 years now. And he will be my teacher until one of us dies. I'm very committed. Um, I asked him, I told him that this has been an ongoing struggle. And he is the type of teacher who can say like one or two sentences to me, and it takes me months to integrate. It takes me a long time to integrate. Um, so I told him the experiences I've been having, and like, the one sentence that really did it for me, he was like, "You're too attached. You're too attached." And he talked more about it, but it sent me on this wave of months of I was grieving and I was like spending hours, you all, like 2 to 3 hours a day studying relationships, studying my patterns, doing shadow work, um, and going really deep into why this was happening. Why was this happening? And it changed. It changed dramatically and it changed pretty quickly. Um, Within 6 months, I had met my now partner. His name is Marcus, and I know that I will never repeat these patterns again. Uh, they will never be repeated. They will never be repeated where I'm feeling conflicted about if I should stay or go, where um, I won't say I won't get hurt. Like, you can't control what somebody else does, but that's definitely not who Marcus is. And I'm going to talk about some of the things that I did from the beginning that really helped, and some of the things like I took everything I was learning. I had this massive document in my phone of all of my notes, and I condensed them into, I'm like, I have I'm recording on my phone, but I have my camera up over here. Um, I condensed them into notes for myself that I could follow along with when I was dating. And I think my clients started to see that my relationship was pretty dang good, and started asking me questions. And I referred to these notes a lot. And so I put all of the notes in a document. And then gave them to my clients. And then as I've been sharing more about my relationship online, we're about to pass a year together. Um, being like the coach and the teacher I am, I wanted to give you all, just yesterday before recording this, I was like, I want to be able to give them something that's going to support them. And so I felt called to share this document with you all as well. So I'm going to walk you through it. So let me share my screen with you and we're going to talk through some of these things. I will say this was built for me. So some of this may not resonate with you. Some of this will resonate. And I would love for you to just kind of make your own. You can steal as much of mine as you want. It's not even stealing because this is a gift. But I'm going to talk you through some of the things that really supported me, some of the clarity I got. Okay, and this video is actually going to be right at the top of here. So let's get into it. So, first of all, I put non-negotiables. These were things that I overlooked many times in past relationships. I did not leave it red flags. I later saw red flags that I had seen, but I ignored. I put rose-colored glasses on. I got attached to people too quickly. I believed people's words over their actions. And then once I was attached, I would just kind of be like, go along with it and ignore things. These are all things that I moved slow enough with Marcus. I moved very slowly. For me, it might be different for everyone, but we we had like 12 dates, 12, something like that before I let him kiss me. And I really got to know him. I like vetted him. And I'll explain a little bit about that. But I moved slow enough. I waited until I actually could feel like, yes, I want to kiss this man. Because I didn't want any more, like I want to be a mother. I'm going on 34. I did not want to waste my time. So, and I turned down a lot of like dates before meeting him as well. And I would just say no from the get-go because I felt an offness, right? So if he had done any of these things, and I will say, like, this is true if we're together for a decade and some of these things start happening, I would leave. We would break up. But he's never done any of these things. So I'm going to go through all of these. I'm not going to go through everything in the document, but some of these areas I will go through all of them. So disrespect, jokes at my expense, belittling, devaluing. This has happened in a lot of my relationships. I ignored it. I brushed it off as a joke. Nope, not doing that. And I'm gonna get into the things that are needed. Like, we deserve to be so valued. I deserve to be so adored, so valued, treated with kindness and respect. Um, Someone who doesn't have good boundaries, who objectifies women, has inappropriate entanglements, right? If they have like, the part of this is really trusting yourself. It's like, and part of what I did too is I would push aside how I felt. I would kind of gaslight myself and I would allow myself to be like gaslit, but I would be like, oh no, it's okay. Or maybe you're reading too much into it. Trust yourself. Trust yourself. History of cheating. Okay, if they're inconsistent, consistency. Someone they need to follow through. Their actions and words need to meet up. They need to show that they're doing the same thing. Otherwise, it's a facade. It's a facade. Hot and cold, in and out, ghosting. If they say they're not ready, no. Especially for me. Again, I'm ready for I like I'll get to some of my like green flags, but like I'm ready for daddy, someone who's ready to be a parent. None of this not ready like stuff. If they will not repair conflict, if they're stonewalling, if they're neglectful, no. And at other time there were times in relationships where I would be like, oh, but I understand why they're doing it and I want to help them heal. No, I'm not your healer. I'm not your coach. I'm not your mommy, I'm your partner. So none of that. Emotional immaturity. So someone who this one was a big one. Someone who is constantly distracting themselves, like they're constantly maybe numbing themselves, constantly distracting themselves, doesn't have good emotional tools, they deflect a lot. That for me is now a sign that they might cheat down the line if they, because they're not connected to themselves. And they'll do things that are out of integrity and not even see it. Like they won't even see it because they're not in touch with themselves. Any sort of manipulation or trying to like punish me. So, and I've had all of these happen in relationships. So if they're trying to make me jealous, if they're trying to make me feel insecure, if they are mad at me, so they like are trying to make me pay in some way or try to hurt me while they're upset. If they lash out, so I'm going to be doing the whole time. Any sort of dishonesty, lies, omissions, any sort of dishonesty, because trust is very foundational. Little lies, half truths, not telling you the full story. Because how can you trust them? How can you trust them? Lack of accountability if they never own their part, if they're not willing to look at their part, if they don't want to look at their part. Someone who actually wants to look at their part. This is a big one that happens. Misalignment in core values, like your core vision for your life, your lifestyle, your goals, your ethics, spirituality. What does this say? No, Lane, what's that supposed to say? Let me see here. Oh, for me, this included they don't want family, they don't have any financial goals because those are both big for me. I'm a money teacher, I'm a money coach and a business coach. I don't do money for money's sake. I have an extremely healthy relationship with money. Um, and I love that. And that's a huge thing of what I teach is money relationship and stewarding, not just like endless money for money's sake and greed. Um, I'm also part Native American, and so it's like literally in my blood to like care for the earth and be in a stewardship role versus uh yeah, versus just want to consume and to extract. So anyway, that's not the vibe. But it's good for you, for me, I have some in my green flags of what some of the lifestyle things were for me. And I'm gonna tell them to you because I think sometimes we have to hear. I know when I was like first studying business and money, it helped me so much to hear other people's standards and other people's ways because I was like, I didn't even know that was an option. I didn't know even know I could ask for that. Like my experience of business and money now is so supportive. I call my work life-giving business because it literally gives me life. I recovered from trauma twice, childhood trauma and then the trauma of the DV relationship and burnout, like hormonal imbalance, like adrenal fatigue that was like, impacting my period, my digestion, while growing my business. It literally gave me life and I have designed that in a very intentional way. I won't go off on business right now, but yeah, and I needed to see that somebody else, you know, I pieced together like I feel like life-giving business is really like I call it original medicine, like it's from me. But I did I had expanders along the way. So I had that in relationships too. I knew I needed to have examples. I intentionally followed people who when I looked at their relationships, I was like, and like people teaching on relationships and saw more examples in my life of people who I was like, oh yeah, this is what I want to go for. Okay. Not growth oriented. I'm very much growth oriented. I like the process of intentionally becoming not financially together. So this might be different for you. You might want to be with someone who you're becoming financially together, but I'm in a place in my life where I have done so much financial work. I'm literally a money teacher and have been for 7 years and have done so much financial work both in my relationship and in my in my, yeah, like tangibly, like in investments and things like that in my business, that I wanted someone who was at my level with it. I'll explain a little more about that later. So that's a standard for me. If they're unkind to others, like the first, if they're kind to me, but they're not kind to others, they will become unkind. They will be, it will turn on you. Any addiction, numbing, if they're hiding their phone, I don't need to like go through their phone. I actually, my partner, it's funny, I've checked people's phones before and found out I was being cheated on that way. Because I was normally right. I normally had a feeling about it and I was right. My partner has told me multiple times his phone password and I don't remember it. I literally forget. I don't even remember. Because I don't feel a need to look at it. Um, if I don't like their friends, like I don't like the people they spend their time around, it kind of like if they have shitty friends who don't have good values, they're probably in the same boat. If they're homophobic, racist, hateful, any sort of like transphobic, any of that kind of stuff. This is one I learned from my narcissistic ex. He said his ex, all of his exes were just crazy and he took no accountability and they were awful people. They weren't. I'm actually besties with one of his exes now, which is funny. Um, he actually has great taste in women. Okay, so those are red flags. Kick to the curb immediately. Bye. Bye. We're not talking about it. I'm not going to tell you how to treat me. Bye. So these are yellow flags. What do you do with the yellow light? You slow down. Red flags, stop immediately. Do not go. Do not go. Stop. Stop. And again, you can make your own and add anything you want, but I'm telling you, no is a no. Yellow flags are, you notice these. You look at them, you can name them, you can communicate them, and I would slow down. So all of these things, again, I paced myself very slow. I was literally vetting. It's not training time for someone to be my partner. I'm getting to know you. I'm getting to know you and I'm observing who are you? Who are you? And then do I want to be with you? Yes or no? You as you actually are. So these are things to, some of these might apply, some of these might not. I actually added this in because I initially I didn't have this, but I did notice like there was like one blatant yellow flag moment that came up. Um there was like an inconsistency of something that he had conveyed to me that he was going to do, and then it took him a while to do it, and he had some reasons that were pretty valid, but then eventually I started feeling uncomfortable with it being put off and I communicated it to him, and I was like really scared when I communicated it to him. And because I was used to men who, when I told them something was bothering me, they would like tell me it wasn't a big deal or I was being sensitive or um, you know, just deflect or dismiss it or whatever. And I was like, I am in no way doing that. Again, I am honoring how I feel. I'm honoring my experience and um and I want someone who will honor my experience too. And I told him and he literally was like, I was so nervous too. He was like, I'm really glad that you can tell me these things and I'll do something about it. And that makes sense. And then he did immediately. And that was it. So it wasn't a yellow flag anymore. Um, I mean, these are just things that might pop up for you. I think it's always good to look at like, is this me or is this them? Which I have later on as a reflection question. Um, but like things like if they're late, is this a pattern or is it one off? If they're healing from something, are they healing it? Are they doing it themselves? You can always support them, but as long as they're not like projecting or taking out on you. If so, this is a big one. Saying the right things, but it's new, untested. See if their actions match their words. See if their actions match their words. Always believe actions over words over time. Over time. People cannot hold their masks for long. Um, yeah, if they cross a boundary, communicate it. Does he actually receive the feedback? And I will say this is, for me, I'm a straight woman dating a man, but it might be there might be some things that don't apply, including pronouns, so just adjust it based on that. But a lot of these are applicable across the board. Does he receive the feedback and adjust, or does he get defensive? Yeah. Do they get defensive under pressure, but they circle back to repair? That's something that, sometimes we're feeling a little flooded, feeling a little overwhelmed. Um, and does it soften over time, like a pattern like that? Okay, so now I'm going to go through standards, green flags, needs. These all for me were musts. These were, yes, you like have to have this thing. Um, didn't realize this was up here. Go away. Okay. So they have to be emotionally attuned, someone who can validate my experience, who cares about my inner world, who asks me questions about myself. Marcus, on our first date, so we met while I was walking my dog. He was my neighbor. And in that time alone, he asked me a lot of questions about myself. We walked for maybe 10 minutes and he planned a first date that was doing something that I like to do. We went to a yoga class together. Um, and he like genuinely long-term cares about my experience and my emotional needs and my life needs and my physical needs and my spiritual needs. And he's interested in me. He's like genuinely thinks I'm like a wonderful human being. So yay. Love that. Um, because I've had people before pedestalize me and then tear me down, like not like themselves and then like reject my love for that, for them, all that kind of stuff. Uh, can they repair with conflict? So it's not about never having conflict, but there's certain things, like I've had people who would call me names, who like would never listen to me when I told them I was hurting, like never could hear it. Um, can they be curious? Can they take accountability? Can they repair when needed? Can they apologize? And then I have to do the same with all of these, right? Um, but for me, this is someone I've done so much inner work. I've meditated for 15 years every day. I started going to therapy almost a decade ago. Um, it's just who I am. You know what I mean? Like I needed someone who could match me. Another thing I'll share too with that is I really had like, especially when my teacher was telling me I was too attached, I really had to come to a place of I so wanted to have a partner and children. I want to be a mommy, you know? Um, and I really had to come to a place where I fully accepted, not like detached, trying to get a relationship anyway, but I fully had to accept that it may not be in my path to have a partner and children. I may be alone. And I really had to come to peace with that. I really had to come to peace with that. And it was so hard for me. And I'm telling you, I cried so much. It was such a process. Um, yeah, yeah, it was really intense. Um, but yeah, I mean, that letting go, because I didn't know if there was ever going to be someone who could actually be a fit for me, but I wanted, someone who made my life better. I'll talk about that more in a minute, though. So let's continue with this. So someone who has integrity, congruence, consistency, their words and their actions match. They communicate intention and follow through. Like someone who's very clear, just clear, direct, clear, reliable, very like masculine qualities. But again, I'm that way too. Like I'm clear. I'm very clear in my communication. Someone who actually can meet like being a partner. I want a life partner, someone who I can share responsibilities with, someone who I can take like one thing about Marcus that was so great is he actually showed me the meaning of partnership, like the way he supports me if I'm not feeling well, and I do the same for him, the way he like immediately stepped in and started taking on responsibilities with Forrest. We like share responsibilities. I never asked him to do that. He just did it. um Someone he supports me, he believes in my dreams, right? Someone who's emotionally mature, can sit with discomfort, practices self-reflection and growth doesn't hot potato pain. This was a big one for me because I would let people just be like, "I'm in pain. Ugh. Take it on. You take it on. You take it on." Um, I also didn't want to hot potato my pain, you know? Um, I didn't want to anymore be like, "I'm in pain. I'm in pain. Like, please care that I'm in pain." No, no. They have to actually have the capacity to care. Yep. Um, Loving, romantic giving makes me feel chosen, cherished, safe. That's important to me. I'm such a lovey-dovey. Like, I wanna snuggle, I wanna feel adored, I wanna feel safe, like, and I really listen to my I didn't just tell myself that, I really, like, we're intuitive, especially, like, if you're here, like, you're probably a very intuitive person. You probably can sense things, you can feel things, you might have some psychic abilities, like, um, you know things, and we have to trust that. So I would actually look at my body and be like, how am I actually feeling? And I was very protective at first because of everything I'd been through. Like, I moved slowly, but that protection naturally melted away. And I could, like, reveal all of my heart and all of my gushiness, and it be reciprocated. Okay, someone who respects pacing isn't trying to push you further along. They might be excited, they might want to spend time with you, but they respect your boundaries. They're not pressuring you to have sex, they're not like shaming you or anything like that. Um, I think that's part of a great thing about pacing. You're not trying to like there's so many teachings out there that are like teaching women to manipulate avoidant men by playing hard to get, and that's not what we're doing. Like, you're not pacing and going slow just so that he wants you. Like, you're doing it to take care of your temple and your heart and to see if you're actually being met. And it's great because you can see if they're respectful, if they're honoring. Um, so for me, I wanted someone who's financially secure, abundant, and generous. That felt very important and someone who had a provider instinct. And let me explain this a little bit. I I love my business. I love working. I don't see myself quitting my job or anything like that. I also really value having financial sovereignty. I love having choice. I love being able to buy things for myself. Um, I also feel like my work there's a deep fulfillment and a creativity in it, right? And I've been designing my business for a year to allow space for all of the things I love doing, art. I'm in a band, I make jewelry, I travel a lot, I love spending time in nature. I spend, um, like, I don't start working for a couple hours in the morning. I have a long extended practice time in the morning, and I also want to have children. I've designed my business around all of those things for a long time. And as a woman being in a relationship with a man, something that I wanted is to know because I am innately more vulnerable. Um, and especially as a woman who wants to have children. Right? Like, he and I do not have the same experiences walking around. Um, like, I feel less safe than him moving through the world. And, statistically, I am less safe, right? Also, in having children, it has to take up a lot of my energy, and like, I am the one who will give birth. I am the one who is putting my body at risk. I am the one who has that mothering drive to really be there. And I wanted to be with someone who had the ability and resource to fully provide if something like that was needed. For instance, if I had a special needs child and I decided that I want to be there with my child more than my business, right? Um, yeah, that felt important to me. That felt important to me. So that was a standard for me, and that's being met, and it's great, and it feels really, really nice. Um, okay, someone who has healthy family dynamics with their family, that doesn't necessarily mean like we can't always control what's happening in our family members, but sometimes that means having good boundaries. Um, like, you might have a partner who has a really mentally unwell, uh, like parent or sibling or something like that that they go no contact with. That for me, healthy dynamics means that they are appropriately responding to that person, not that like everything's all happy, jolly, everything in their family. Again, this was another one for me. They want a devotional, committed, healthy, long-term love, and they're willing to do the work for it. That was important for me. Someone who's healthy, they value their well-being, they take care of their body. Again, it doesn't mean that they never have issues, but that they're willing to be gentle with themselves, be nourishing to themselves, take care of themselves, exercise, all of those kind of things. Someone who has done like Marcus has never been to therapy, but he's faced his shame. He's sat with his inner child. He has grieved, certain experiences in his life. Um, he's grown a lot. For me, again, I want children, so I want someone who is like they actually want to be a dad. So I actually with him, I asked him, I'm like, "What do you want?" Because I also had experiences. This was me being a little protective, but I think it served me, to be honest, because I've had experience where I told people everything about who I was and what I wanted, and then they kind of just mirrored it back to me, and um, but then couldn't keep up like the facade. So I was genuinely like, "What do you want?" and seeing if it actually matched, and it did. I remember him being like, "I want to be a dad, and I will be a great dad," and that's definitely true. Um, I wanted someone who had time and location flexibility. Again, this isn't the same for everyone. You might be more like um, tied to a location and you're okay with that. But for me, I have complete location flexibility. I like to travel, I like to go on adventures, and I wanted someone and I have a lot of time freedom, and I wanted someone who had that as well. And someone who's fun. I like doing fun things. I like going to music. I'm in a band. I like dancing. I like traveling. I like being with friends. I like being playful, silly, funny, like goofy. I wanted someone who could match that. Okay, I'm also going to go through the how I hold myself portion as well. Um, because I also had to really deeply look at myself and be like, what who do I wanna be? Like, what do I actually need to do to be a match for this kind of partnership? And I also had to look at what am I currently doing? What are the shadows that come up that are not in congruence with that? Actually, I won't go through every single one of them. Um, so I don't wanna chase anybody. I think, like, there are again, it's different if you're in a same-sex relationship, um, and there can be some differences, there might be some overlap. For me, I am very, on the feminine pole, and I have a lot of masculine qualities as well, but in relationships, especially getting started, there's a lot of, yeah, just, I like being pursued. That feels really I get literally anxious and uncomfortable if I feel like I'm initiating things. And so he was setting the pace. He was setting the standard. He was asking me on dates. He was calling me. He was texting me. And he was pursuing me, and I was the prize. I was the one being chosen, and I had to sit and be like, do I really want this guy? Is he is he meeting my standards? Like I had to discern, and then I would be inviting and be like, yes, I'm enjoying this attention, I'm enjoying this love, I'm enjoying these dates, and I would tell him that. Um, yeah, this is a big one. I actually have a note down at the bottom about it, about speaking my needs, standards, and letting them rise or letting them go. I'll speak to more of that at the end. Um, I focus a lot of energy on myself. I do a lot for him, and we have a really, sweet partnership. But I also really take care of my own radiance, my safety, my joy, my peace. Like those are all my responsibility first, and I really take time with all of that. Having my own identity, having my Like I've had experiences in the past that really made me question my worth and feel like shattered and feel um abandoned, but really I was like abandoning myself first. But I didn't like we don't know until we know. So I had like I was really it was really about being myself, like who I truly am is lovable, who I truly am is enough, who I truly am. I don't need to change. I mean there might be ways to like grow or things that I but I don't need to like soften my ambition. I don't need to quiet my my mystical experiences. I don't need to um like not dress the way I want. I wouldn't dress for him. I would dress for me and still do. And he loves how I dress, right? Um yeah, and if anyone questioned my worth, I mean people questioned my worth in the past. They questioned my career. They questioned um like it was like constantly being put on me and stuff like that, and that's not the vibe. Yeah, like holding my standards, receiving that I stay where I'm valued, devoted to, cherished, heard, at peace, growing, nurtured. Um, I listen to my nervous system, body, intuition. I really value those things versus bypassing. I'm honest, like I one thing I had to really do is commit to seeing things clearly. Like, is this a yes or a no? And really trust myself. And it helped to slow it down at the beginning so that I didn't get over attached and then later be like, oh, this person is actually not everything I thought. Or. So those are some of the things. So I'm also going to add a few shadow work questions to help you see some of yours. These were mine, right? I would try to perform, I would try to get it right. I would try to like do something that and I would have like someone pedestalizing me and then tearing me off the pedestal. I would overfunction. I would do way too much emotional labor, explain how to like over and over again how to treat me, make excuses, be overly compassionate, disregard my boundaries. Um, Sometimes I rushed intimacy. Instead of pacing myself, I would get like kind of excited and also kind of scared and like just attach fast, letting chemistry override clarity. I would blur my boundaries, self abandon, say yes when I meant no, not take enough space, bending my needs. Something that wasn't okay with me, I'd like kind of make excuses and make it okay. Um, One of the big things I found is that like, I thought that love had to be hard. And this is something I had worked out years ago in terms of like business and money. Like I used to think money and business had to be really hard and you had to earn it and all this stuff. And it wasn't the case. And actually like my experience of money and business got so much more better and peaceful, like both tangibly and internally. When I quit that, but I was still doing that in relationships. I thought I had to earn it. I thought I had to like I thought if it was hard, I thought it just was hard. And so I stayed in dynamics that were hard. But my experience of love is not hard anymore. It's not hard. Um yeah, I would try to keep them close when they pulled away. Let them go. Um like wanting them to approve of me in order to feel safe. Um I would have, believe fantasies, believe words over actually what was happening, fall in love with potential. Uh, let's see here. Not actually let them know that well, I would let them know that I was hurt and my boundaries and my needs, but then like they were never met. And I would just keep explaining them, or I would just kind of like shut them down. Um, Holding back out of fear of being abandoned, over protecting myself. Um, yeah. So these are some boundaries. So I'm not going to go through these, but I will say that like a boundary is what I is my commitment. So it guides my behavior. So a boundary isn't you can't do this or you can't do that. They can do whatever they want. That's a rule. If you're putting a rule on them, it's not going to work. a boundary is how you let people do whatever they want. Of course, you can communicate things. I'll talk about that here in a minute. There's kind of a paradox with it, but people are going to do what they want. You can't have a boundary of don't cheat on me. If they cheat on me, your boundary is I freaking leave. I leave. If they're being an asshole, I leave. That's my boundary. Um, it's not like you can't do this or you can't do that. Okay, so those are some boundaries. Here's some reflection questions that you can journal with as you're dating or as you're getting to know someone, or if you're already in a partnership. These can also, these were mainly for me when I was dating to help me vet someone. Um, and I'll also say like, and I'm gonna add those shadow questions in, but along the way, what one thing that really helped me was learning how to properly communicate. Um, I communicated in my fullness, right? And was myself. My commitment was to be myself and express myself, right? So and then see how he responds. Does he like it? Does he truly like who I am? Can he hear my yes and my no? So I expressed my desires, I expressed what I liked, I expressed what I didn't like, I expressed any concerns I had, I expressed my feelings, right? If I was like, like feeling protective or feeling unsure or feeling excited or starting to like him, like I told him all those things. And now I'm a big gushy puddle of love with him. I'm like, I love you so much. And I like look at him every day and I'm like, I want to be pregnant, you know? And he loves it. He loves it. Um, you let him respond as he chooses. Do not try to control how he responds. Do not tell him how to let him respond. And you observe. Do I like this response? Is this matching the kind of partnership I want to be in? Um, and it's a filter. It's a filter. This will filter out, it'll push away some people, it'll scare some people away. Let them be scared. Let them be scared. Bye bye. You can feel like, yeah, sure, there's some sadness in that, but like, again, no mommy, no healing, especially if that's your job. Mm-mm. Do not hold back over fear of jeopardizing the connection. A lot of people will, and I've done this, will contain their feelings, contain their yes and no, try to go along with what's going to make them feel a certain way. You be you. Find someone who's your match. That's one's so great. I mean, this is one of the biggest things that I think attracted in a partner who's is clearly a match for me. Like, I'm constantly reflected to by people who know us, like my parents, my friends, how much of a match we are. And I think it's really because I was so committed to being myself and expressing myself, and we like just vibed. And he was literally my neighbor. He was right down the road. I put some ways to work with me. I'm gonna link them here if you're interested in any of my offerings. We do talk about like relationship stuff comes up, but it's mainly around business. But business is very holistic in my world. It's integrated with your health, your vitality, your spiritual experiences, your gifts, your values, your friendships, your lifestyle. It is not a separate thing. Um, And then one thing that I want to point out is I have a free, this masterclass is being updated. If you sign up at the time that I, first release this video, it'll be a couple days until you'll get the video because it's being updated. But this class is really great. It's all about the life-giving business paradigm and how to move from like more of a survival, burnout, earning, proving, over-functioning state to life-giving. And there's also some email lessons that come along with that. This free biz expansion playlist is like, there's like 20 videos in there of practices and free trainings I've done over the years. It's really good. This is my podcast. It's currently called The Wealthy Show. I'm about to change the name and do a revamp of it. Um, that's what it's called right now. It's on the platform, the podcast streaming platforms. And these are my two ongoing offers that are open all the time. Life Giving Business, it's a school collective and mastermind. There's three options, and I have one-on-one coaching. I do long containers and intensives. Um, and then I also run, like shorter one-off containers about once a quarter. Um, I do money work with people in Get Rich and Wealthy. I'm about to revamp Wealthy for this year. Well, not about to, that's actually later this year. And sometimes I do bigger masterminds, like open, closed masterminds. So if you're feeling interested, I wanted to include this. If you're feeling interested in working with me, you can always send me a DM and we can chat about it. Okay, so that's I would love for you to send me a DM and let me know how this all lands for you, any of your takeaways. It's so helpful for me to receive that feedback. It really gives me like life. And, I've been doing this full time for 8 years. Oh my gosh, I just passed my 8 year. Oh my gosh, today's my 8 year anniversary. I didn't realize that. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry. It's today. Today. I quit my job August 6th. That was my last day at my job. 2018. Wow. Yeah, today's my year anniversary. Oh my gosh. Um, wow. Okay, well, what I was saying is like I love this career. I love my job. I love my business. I love the clients I get to work with. I'm so grateful that I've built a life and a business that is truly an expression of who I am. Oh my gosh, I'm getting emotional about it because, like, for so long, I was so separated from who I truly was. I was constantly trying to prove my worth, doing things I thought I should. I didn't know there were other ways, and I had a lot of childhood trauma and was like shut down in many ways and disempowered in many ways and had to heal and grow a lot. And I love the work I get to do. And what helps me so much, what like really gives me that life to keep going is like hearing that feedback of how it's landing with people. Um, yeah, so it would mean the world to me if you send me a message and let me know what came up for you through this. Okay, well, I'm gonna celebrate a little bit. That's so sweet. Okay, so that's it. I will see you soon. I hope you have a great day. Thank you so much for this. I hope it serves you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.